I'm very overwhelmed because this is a big cemetery, and I'm so thankful to all of you who've come, especially Frank, to come and help me and Martin find my grandfather. And my baby sister's buried somewhere nearby, but I don't know where. But I put 2 bunches of flowers, one for baby Carol and one for my grandfather, William MacGowan. Yes. I never met him, and I never met my baby sister because she died before I was born. But my family will be really happy that, thanks to Martin, he found the grave, and you know, there it is. He's sleeping in the ground of Papua New Guinea, along with my mother and father, who are in Kainantu now. Yeah, so I'm very happy.
So, Rosalie, what do you know about your grandfather?
Oh, okay. Well, he first went to Rabaul in the early 1920s, and he was an architect, and he worked for the Australian Colonial Administration in Rabaul. And in those days, Rabaul was known as the Pearl of the Pacific. And because he was an architect, he was really interested in the German architecture that was in Rabaul before the war. I think during the war it all got bombed. But yeah, so he worked in Rabaul. He raised his 4 children, 3 brothers and my mother. My mother was the eldest one. And then, so they all lived in Rabaul. They loved it. My mother used to swim in the harbour.
They had a diving pool.
Yeah. My grandfather, this Mr. MacGowan grandfather, he built the Rabaul diving pool, and I think the ruins of that is still in Rabaul. Yeah.
He was involved in the design aspects, some design aspects of the Australian old Parliament House.
That's right, the old Parliament House before he went to PNG. Yeah. So, and then, so then the Japanese come. He had to stay behind because the men were not evacuated, but the Australian women and children, they were evacuated. And so my mother was 13, and then she had 3 little brothers. The little brother was 2 years old, and so they get on the ship called the MacGowan. Yeah, which is now in the harbour. That's right. And so my mother tells a story about her little brother was very annoying, and she had to stop him from falling off the ship and drowning. Yeah. So they were evacuated, and then my grandmother and the 4 children, they went to Adelaide, and so that's where she finished her schooling, and she learnt all her art and all that kind of stuff, ballet and everything. But then after the war, I missed an important part.
Back to William.
Yeah.
So, he had to stay behind.
Yeah. So William had to stay behind. Okay, so the family didn't know what happened to their father until sometime later. So William escaped with 2 other Australian men. I think they were all about 36, 37 years old, quite young. And so they were in big danger, like the Japanese were coming, or they were pretty much here. So they escaped through the bush out of Rabaul. They went down to the coast, and I think they paid for a little boat, and then they went on the boat to Milne Bay. And I've got the diary that my grandfather William, he kept he had a small notepad. I've got the original one. Looks like a real historical document, and he hand wrote in it the story of his escape. And because he was an architect, he also drew a picture. There's one picture of him looking out in the harbour, I think, and he's drawn the Japanese destroyer on the horizon coming into Rabaul harbour. Yeah. But then after he gets to Milne Bay, he was safe, and then I think the family found out that he was all right. But after the war, my grandfather came straight back to Port Moresby this time. No, he didn't go to Rabaul, he went to Port Moresby this time. And then he was, I think, Deputy Director of Public Works in Port Moresby. Yeah. And then, so our PNG life resumed after the war. Yeah.
Tell the story of the volcano and the fleeing the eruption.
Yeah. It wasn't the 1937 eruption. It was another time. Like the volcanoes used to blow up quite a bit, I think. So for this particular one, because and this will be of interest to Mullum and his sons, because my grandfather was also a great photographer, and so my mother told the story about one day one of the volcanoes was blowing up, and so they jump in the car to escape, to evacuate from the volcano. And then my grandfather, halfway out of Rabaul, he goes, "Oh, I've left my camera." So he turns the family car around, drives straight back towards the volcano to get his camera. And so there you go. He got it.
He got his camera.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so
And nobody died in
nobody
the
died.
rescue of the camera.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I think he was very artistic, and I think my mother got that from him as well. Yeah, and so that was sort of like the legacy from before. Yeah. But I'm sad that I never got to meet my grandfather because he died maybe just a little while before I was born. Yeah. So, but anyway, we got some lovely flowers for him.
So, how is it like? You have your grandfather here, buried in Port Moresby, and your mother and father in Kainantu.
Yeah.
So,
Hanubada. Yeah.
so this makes it very special. Can you say something about this?
Yeah. That's right. Because so when my father decided to move up into the highlands, he could speak Motu, right? My mother could speak Pidgin, and so then when they set up the plantation, they were able to talk because we had a Papuan boss boy, and so they were all able to communicate, and they taught each other everything. But this is special because it all kind of started here. Oh, it started in Rabaul, and then it was in Moresby, and then my parents met, and then they went up to the Highlands. Yeah, so I think it's great for the family that I've got some people in Papua and some people in New Guinea. So it's got a kind of symbolism about it. Yeah, I think that's what I think about it. Yeah, because Papua New Guinea is Papua New Guinea, both. Yeah. So 4 of my family members, because my baby sister is buried here somewhere too. Yeah, and she was born before me. So she was born and died before I was born. Yeah.
Maybe about 1955 or so.
Yeah, I think about that. Yeah,
Roman was 53, you're 57,
yeah.
so
that's right.
So Carol would be, let's say, 55.
That's right. So her name was Carol Sue Larner. Yeah. So my father's Wally Larner. Yeah. And so so she's buried here somewhere, but I don't know where. Yeah.
And would be much harder to find than here because there's no tombstone.
Yeah, there was no tombstone. When I came in 1994, I couldn't find Carol's tombstone. And my mother, in her diary, she said, "Oh, I think Carol is where there's a footpath. She could be sort of like around there, like there's a footpath."
Well, previously this place was well kept. That's probably why it had footpaths.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, to me the cemetery looks well looked after. I think when I came in '94, it was more overgrown. So I think now people are looking after it. Yeah, which I'm really happy to see that. So I'm really happy that my relatives are being looked after by the people of Hanubada and Kainantu. So thank you so much, Frank and Mullum, for bringing me here with Martin. I'm very thankful.
Frank,
To come here to my village. Where, this used to be the expatriate grave in the colonial time.
Yes.
And this is where her grandfather was buried, Mr. MacGowan. It's good to know you have your people here who are at rest.
Absolutely.
In my village here. And good to bring you along here.
Yes.
So you have an appreciation of the grave site.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next time you come, the landmarks in the rain trees.
Yeah,
Yes,
I love the
indeed.
trees. I think what a lovely paradise for my grandfather to